Dr. Roger Hill's human brain easily solved the impossible problem that had stumped the greatest alien minds in the galaxy, leaving his students shocked, amazed, and rethinking everything they thought they knew about the primitive human race. In the prestigious Galactic University's dimly lit mathematics department, Dr. Hill graded exam papers late into the artificial night. The tenure committee had laughed when he first applied. The Eliani faculty even staged a walkout protest, outraged that a simpleton human would dare seek to join their ranks. But Roger, with his wrinkled skin, wispy white hair, and razor-sharp mind, had fought tooth and nail to earn his place as the only human professor on campus. And tonight, he would prove that he truly belonged. With a stack of completed final exams on his desk, Dr. Hill allowed himself a rare smile. For years, the impossible problem had been the bane of the university's advanced mathematics course. Generations of the brightest alien minds, with their hyper-advanced technology and genetically enhanced intellects, had tried and failed to conquer the notorious equation. Even the most sophisticated Eliani AI systems, said to dwarf human intelligence by orders of magnitude, couldn't come close to cracking it. But as Dr. Hill flipped through the test papers, his sharp blue eyes widened in disbelief. There, scrawled in the messy handwriting of a caffeine-fueled all-nighter, was the elegant 10-line proof he never imagined he'd see. The impossible problem solved with ease by a human student. Vola Ixon, the arrogant young Eliani genius who never missed a chance to scoff at Dr. Hill's primitive teaching methods, had done the unthinkable. The next morning, Dr. Hill strode into the lecture hall with a newfound swagger. The usual nervous chatter fell silent as he stood at the podium, holding up Vola's exam with a triumphant grin. "Class, I have an announcement," Dr. Hill said, his voice echoing through the stunned room. "The impossible problem has been solved." Gasps and murmurs erupted from the alien students. Vola sat up straight, his eyes wide with shock. Dr. Hill continued, "And it was solved by one of your own, a human." The room fell deathly quiet. Dr. Hill locked eyes with Vola, who stared back in disbelief. "Vola Ixon, you have accomplished something that the greatest minds in the galaxy thought impossible. You have proven that human ingenuity and determination can triumph over even the most daunting challenges. You have shown that humans are not to be underestimated." Vola's face flushed with a mix of pride and embarrassment. His fellow Eliani students looked at him with a newfound respect, tinged with a hint of envy. Dr. Hill smiled, feeling a surge of pride for his species. "Class, let this be a lesson. Never assume that any problem is unsolvable, and never underestimate the power of the human mind." Dismissed. As the students filed out of the lecture hall, abuzz with excited conversation, Dr. Hill knew that this moment would change everything. The news of a human solving the impossible problem would spread like wildfire through the galactic academic community. It would shatter long-held prejudices and force the Eliani and other advanced races to reconsider their dismissive attitudes towards humanity. And as Dr. Hill watched Vola walk out of the classroom, head held high, he knew that this was just the beginning. With humans like Vola leading the charge, there was no limit to what his species could accomplish on the galactic stage. The universe was about to learn the true potential of humanity, and Dr. Hill couldn't wait to see what impossible feats they would achieve next. Just 4 short hours prior, the mood in Professor Hill's prestigious mathematics lecture hall at the Galactic University was one of arrogance and apathy, not too dissimilar from any other exam day. The Eliani students had waltzed in, their genetically enhanced brains already envisioning the perfect scores they'd be inevitably receiving. Even the handful of other alien species in attendance, from the brilliant but haughty Zorgans to the logical yet dismissive Quanthars, felt assured that they'd ace the test. After all, what challenge could a simple human professor possibly pose to the greatest minds in the galaxy? But as Dr. Hill handed out the exam papers, his wrinkled face betraying no emotion, a hush fell over the room. The students flipped to the final page, where the infamous impossible problem awaited them. A wave of unease rippled through the lecture hall. Even the most self-assured among them felt a twinge of doubt. Could they really solve a problem that had stumped generations of the brightest minds in the universe? As the minutes ticked by, the atmosphere in the room shifted from confidence to frustration, and finally to utter despair. The Eliani students, their faces contorted in concentration, punched frantically at their advanced calculators. But no matter how many times they ran the numbers, the answer eluded them. The Zorgans, known for their cutting-edge problem-solving algorithms, found their techniques woefully inadequate, and the Quanthars, masters of logic and reason, couldn't seem to find a rational path to the solution. One by one, the alien students began to give up. Some sat back in their chairs, staring blankly at the ceiling. Others buried their faces in their hands, their pride shattered by the realization that they had failed. A few even stood up and walked out of the room, unable to face the humiliation of defeat. But amidst the sea of despair, one student remained focused. Vola Ixon, the arrogant Eliani genius, scribbled furiously on his test paper, his brow furrowed in concentration, his eyes darting back and forth as he worked through the problem. Dr. Hill watched him with interest, suppressing a knowing smile. What the other students didn't know was that Vola had been secretly attending Dr. Hill's office hours, soaking up the human professor's unconventional approach to mathematics. While his classmates had scoffed at the notion of learning from a primitive species, Vola had recognized the value in Dr. Hill's unique perspective, and now, as he applied those very techniques to the impossible problem, he could feel the pieces starting to fall into place. Suddenly Vola's eyes widened. His hand began to move faster, his pen flying across the page. Dr. Hill leaned forward, sensing that something momentous was happening. The other students, lost in their own failures, didn't even notice as Vola's breakthroughs came faster and faster. And then, with a final flourish of his pen, Vola sat back in his chair. A triumphant grin spread across his face as he looked down at his test paper. There, in his neat handwriting, was the elegant, concise solution to the impossible problem. He had done it. He had achieved the impossible. As Vola strode up to Dr. Hill's desk to submit his exam, the other students finally took notice. They stared in disbelief, their jaws dropping as they realized what had happened. Vola, the lone student who had embraced the human professor's teachings, had conquered the challenge that had defeated them all. And as he walked out of the lecture hall, head held high, Dr. Hill couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The universe was about to learn the true potential of humanity, and Vola Ixon was leading the charge. But the story doesn't end there. In fact, it was just the beginning. As news of Vola's achievement spread through the university and beyond, it sent shockwaves through the galactic academic community. The notion that a human professor and his unconventional methods could produce a student capable of solving the impossible problem was simply unthinkable. And yet, the proof was undeniable. In the days and weeks that followed, Dr. Hill found himself inundated with requests for interviews, guest lectures, and collaborations. His once empty office hours were now filled with eager students from all across the galaxy, desperate to learn from the man who had helped a human student achieve the impossible. Even the Eliani faculty, who had once staged a walkout in protest of Dr. Hill's appointment, now clamored for his attention and insights. But through it all, Dr. Hill remained humble and dedicated to his craft. He knew that Vola's success was just the first step in a much larger journey. With humanity now firmly established as a force to be reckoned with on the galactic academic stage, there was no telling what other impossible feats they might achieve. And as he watched his students, human and alien alike, push the boundaries of what was possible, Dr. Hill couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement for the future. The universe was changing, and he was proud to be a part of it. As the students filed out of the classroom, the excited whispers began. "Did you hear? Vola solved the impossible problem. No way, that's unheard of. A human professor's student? Impossible." The hushed conversations grew louder as the news spread, each retelling more sensational than the last. It wasn't long before word reached the university's upper echelons. Dean Zaxa, a stern and traditional Eliani, sat in his opulent office, his brow furrowed as he listened to the rumors. He had never trusted Dr. Hill, viewing the human's presence on the faculty as an affront to the university's prestigious reputation. The notion that a student of this primitive species had achieved such a feat was simply preposterous. Zaxor summoned Dr. Hill to his office, determined to uncover the truth behind this supposed breakthrough. Dr. Hill entered the dean's office, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to Zaxor's barely concealed agitation. "Dr. Hill," Zaxor began, his tone accusatory, "I've heard some disturbing rumors regarding your student Vola Ixon. It seems he has solved the impossible problem, a feat that has eluded even the most brilliant minds of our species. How do you explain this?" The human professor met Zaxor's gaze unflinching. "Dean Zaxor, I assure you that Vola's achievement is the result of his own hard work and dedication. I merely encouraged him and all my students to approach problems from new angles and to think outside the box." Zaxor scoffed, his skepticism evident. "You expect me to believe that a human's unconventional methods could lead to such a breakthrough? No, there must be more to this. I demand that Vola's exam be investigated for any signs of cheating or academic dishonesty." Meanwhile, Vola was celebrating his triumph with his friends, blissfully unaware of the gathering storm. They raised glasses of exotic alien liquors, toasting to his success and the promise of a bright future. Vola's heart swelled with pride as he recounted the moment of his breakthrough, the way the pieces had fallen into place thanks to Dr. Hill's guidance. Just as Vola was basking in the warm glow of victory, a message arrived summoning him to the dean's office. Confused and uneasy, he made his way across the campus, his mind racing with possibilities. As he entered the office, he was greeted by the sight of a stoic Dr. Hill and a visibly agitated Dean Zaxor. Zaxor wasted no time, launching into a barrage of questions and accusations. "Vola Ixon, it has come to my attention that you have allegedly solved the impossible problem. As impressive as this may seem, I find it difficult to believe that a student, particularly one under the tutelage of a human professor, could have accomplished such a feat without resorting to academic dishonesty. Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Vola, taken aback by the dean's hostility, found his voice. "Dean Zaxor, I assure you that my work is my own. I have spent countless hours studying and applying the techniques I learned from Dr. Hill. He taught me to approach problems in new and innovative ways, and that's exactly what I did. I did not cheat or collude with anyone." Zaxor listened to Vola's impassioned defense, his expression unchanged. "Be that as it may, I cannot simply take your word for it. The reputation of this university is at stake. If you truly solved the impossible problem on your own merits, then surely you won't object to proving your abilities under more controlled conditions." The dean leaned forward, his eyes locked on Vola. "I propose a test. You will be given another impossible problem, one that even our most esteemed faculty members have failed to solve. You will work on this problem under close supervision, without access to any external resources or assistance. If you succeed, your achievement will be recognized and celebrated. But if you fail..." Zaxor let the implication hang in the air. Vola felt a chill run down his spine, but he refused to be intimidated. He met the dean's gaze, his voice steady and determined. "I accept your challenge, Dean Zaxor. I will prove that my success is the result of my own abilities and the teachings of Dr. Hill. Let us begin." The narrator continues recounting the tale, his voice low and steady as he describes the tense scene unfolding within the secure room. Vola, the young Eliani prodigy, is led inside by a pair of stern-faced guards. The room is sparse, with nothing but a table, a chair, and a large screen displaying an equation so complex it seems to pulse with an almost malevolent energy. This is the new impossible problem, a challenge that has defied even the most brilliant minds of the Eliani race. As Vola takes his seat, the narrator reveals the turmoil raging within the young student's mind. The weight of his people's expectations bears down upon him, a crushing pressure that threatens to suffocate his very thoughts. He knows that the future of human-Eliani relations rests on his shoulders, that his performance in this moment will either validate Dr. Hill's teachings or condemn them as a foolish, primitive fancy. Behind the one-way mirror, Dean Zaxa and a panel of esteemed Eliani professors watch with hawkish intensity. Their eyes are cold, their expressions a mix of skepticism and barely concealed disdain. Dr. Hill, the human professor who had dared to challenge their long-held beliefs, is conspicuously absent, barred from the proceedings by Zaxor's express order. Volar takes a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest as he stares at the screen. The equation seems to mock him, its symbols and numbers twisting into an incomprehensible tangle. But as he begins to work, his mind settles into a familiar rhythm, the unconventional methods he learned from Dr. Hill guiding his thoughts like a beacon in the dark. The narrator describes the hours that pass, each minute feeling like an eternity. Volar works tirelessly, his hand flying across the screen as he manipulates the equation, breaking it down into its component parts and reassembling them in ways that defy traditional Eliani logic. The observing professors grow increasingly agitated, their whispers turning to frustrated mutters as they struggle to follow Volar's unorthodox approach. Zaxor, in particular, becomes more and more incensed. His face twists into a scowl, his eyes narrowing as he watches Volar work. To the Dean, the young Eliani's actions are nothing short of heresy, a betrayal of the very principles that have guided their society for generations. He becomes convinced that Dr. Hill has somehow corrupted Volar's mind, poisoning him with human ideas that have no place in Eliani academia. Just as Zaxor is about to storm into the room and declare Volar a cheater, the young prodigy sets down his stylus and leans back in his chair. "I have solved it," he announces, his voice calm and steady. The room falls silent, the weight of Volar's words hanging in the air like a physical presence. The Eliani professors exchange glances, their expressions a mix of disbelief and reluctant curiosity. Zaxor's face is a mask of barely contained rage, his fists clenched at his sides. Slowly, deliberately, Volar begins to explain his solution. He speaks of concepts and theories that the Eliani have never considered, his words painting a picture of a new kind of mathematics, one that transcends the rigid boundaries of their traditional thinking. The narrator describes the dawning realization on the faces of the professors as they listen, their skepticism giving way to a grudging respect. As Volar finishes his explanation, the room remains silent. The Eliani professors stare at the screen, their eyes wide with wonder as they take in the elegance and originality of Volar's solution. Zaxor, his face a mask of conflicting emotions, seems to deflate, his anger giving way to a reluctant acceptance. The narrator's voice grows heavy with the weight of the moment, the significance of Volar's achievement sinking in. The young Eliani has not only solved the impossible problem, but has also demonstrated the power and potential of human ideas. In doing so, he has challenged the very foundations of Eliani society and opened the door to a new era of collaboration and understanding between their two species. As the professors begin to discuss the implications of Volar's solution, their voices rising in excited chatter, the narrator's voice fades into the background. The scene shifts, the focus moving away from the secure room and the stunned Eliani, hinting at the broader consequences of this momentous event. In the aftermath of Volar's stunning achievement, the Galactic University finds itself in a state of upheaval. The narrator's voice grows somber as he describes the once proud Eliani professors, their egos shattered and their long-held beliefs called into question. They pace the halls of the university, their hushed conversations tinged with a mixture of disbelief and fear. How could a mere human, a species they had long dismissed as primitive and intellectually inferior, have produced a student capable of solving the impossible problem? As the news of Volar's triumph spreads like wildfire across the galaxy, the narrator reveals the growing unease among the other alien races. The Zorgans, the Quanthars, and countless others begin to whisper amongst themselves, their faith in the Eliani's dominance slowly eroding. If a human professor could teach a student to surpass the greatest Eliani minds, what other surprises might humanity have in store? Amidst the chaos, Dr. Hill finds himself at the center of a maelstrom of attention. Alien universities from every corner of the galaxy flood his inbox with offers of tenure, research grants, and speaking engagements. The narrator describes the human professor's bewilderment as he reads through the countless messages, each more extravagant than the last. However, the narrator's voice takes on a note of admiration as he reveals Dr. Hill's true character. The human professor, uninterested in the trappings of fame and fortune, politely declines each offer. Instead, he makes the decision to return to Earth, content in the knowledge that he has played a small but significant role in changing the course of galactic history. As Dr. Hill prepares to depart, the scene shifts to Vola. The young Eleani, once celebrated as a hero among his people, now finds himself an outcast. The narrator describes the cold stares and hushed whispers that follow Vola as he walks the halls of the university. His classmates and professors, unable to accept that one of their own could have learned so much from a human. Vola, his heart heavy with disappointment and frustration, makes the difficult decision to leave his home world behind. The narrator's voice is tinged with sympathy as he describes the young prodigy's lonely journey into the stars, a journey that will come to symbolize the changing face of the galaxy itself. The narrator's words paint a vivid picture of the bittersweet nature of progress. Vola and Dr. Hill may have shattered the long-standing hierarchies of the galaxy, but their actions have come at a cost. The Eleani, once the guardians of knowledge and the masters of science, must now adapt to a new reality or risk fading into obscurity. And so the narrator reveals, the galaxy enters a new era, an era in which the traditional ways of thinking, the old methods of teaching and learning, are slowly but surely replaced by new and innovative approaches, an era in which the once rigid boundaries between species and cultures begin to blur, as students from all corners of the universe come together to share ideas and push the limits of what is possible. The narrator's voice grows wistful as he describes the final scene of Dr. Hill in his study, back on Earth, his once dark hair now grey, and his face lined with the wisdom of age. A tear rolls down the old professor's cheek as he reads a heartfelt message from Vola, now a renowned figure in his own right, thanking him for the lessons he taught and the impact he had on his life. The narrator's voice fades into silence, leaving the listener to ponder the profound and lasting impact that a single person, guided by the principles of compassion, curiosity, and an unwavering belief in the potential of all beings, can have on the course of history. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.